welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me here today. 356, pages 827, 28, and 29. Won't you join me here today for these 3 pages on what is it like with no illusion? And my name is Reverend Maria Arvanitidis, and this is The Sovereign Light, a course in metaphysical spirituality. How do you do? So whenever you're ready, let's begin. Pointer number 15. I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here. I'm here in Bacalar, Mexico, and I just came out of a swim, and so I thought I would do share this moment with you all. So let's begin whenever you're ready. Take a few deep breaths in and out. And in, anchor in your heart space center and ripple it out with every breath into your field. Descend into the embodiment of the self, and without needing to come out of the body, stand in the stillness while allowing everything to come to it, to come to you, to come to thyself. There is what it does and what it holds, but nothing that is to seek for. Are we creatures of habit, or are we creators of our own reality? I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here. Whatever it is that the self might thirst for long enough will be of purpose, and that the universe will help guide in the accomplishment. Fear is the indication to let go of judgment. Support follows the self that can hold on to the self that can hold on to its vision and the faith to step into the purpose of its dreams. So I would suggest that you somehow find this inner peace from within. And when we find that and step into our sovereignty, step into this light, then we can begin to use our inner vision to create. And with our limbic system and our brain connected, we can, with our heart and intuitively, be guided towards every dreams that we might prefer to live out our life unfolding each and every moment. Then again, the illusion of another dream, and that can diffract from it the seeking out and another fragment of its soul to interact with. So when we
are looking to the outside rather than from the inside out, from the outside in, we no longer are creators. We become victims to our circumstances in the way that we give away our power. But once we find that inner sanctuary, that inner center, that inner peace, and we can trust and start creating. The only thing that is left, and that it thinks it knows because it feels it from the heart so strongly, and as to not make sense of it completely. So it will not really make any sense at first because we are relying on the outside and what others think and how others and what the outside Maya matrix, the assimilation, we empower that as opposed to learning from it and interacting with it and dancing with it.
This encounter it might also find within a situation and or a circumstance, and from the following to reinterpret from its lucid dream. Always to be chasing in its dream, and then finds itself traveling along and with all its luggage lost from all its travels. It does not know of its destination by name, and asked a mother with her son for directions. These characters were from the morphogenic field, combining of religious fragments to believe the assimilation with and that of recycled foster parents, from the soul and reflecting back to the self, the story within a lucid dream. They too did not know how to help on their way about to exit from the elevator, and that the self had chose, instead of hiking it up the mountain.
So in my interpretation of it right now would be all these things that I'm hanging on to that are still like, oh, like my father's toolboxes, or like my mother's sewing machine, and that, oh, I still have to learn how to sew my own, hem my pants and do all these things, and yet I'm carrying all these things that really, the book is saying right now that I'm reading, and this is one good example, and yet, you know, there are borders, there are boundaries, there are restrictions and limitations when we deal with these things, when leaving one country for another. And is it how much value do we place on these emotional attachments or reminders or whatever we might have left that might still have significance to where we've been that we might otherwise not remember. In this dream that I had, which is very relevant to me right now, so I'm trying to kind of reinterpret it so it could make some sense, that it happened to be my mother and my father, and how I chose to go up the elevator instead of taking the stairs or going up the mountain, and yet they got off because now they've passed on, and yet their belongings still remain with me, right? So this is one good interpretation of, well, what is she talking about? Okay, page 828.
I am that part of life longing for itself. The universe wants me to be here. I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here. I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here.
So I will continue reading. Within dream space, all can be revealed, and the clearing of much lineage. How? The become lucid into memory is from intensely feeling. Feelings make everything much more vivid to impress upon the soul, that it too may hold long enough the unified consciousness to grasp this way of being. The electricity that created the energy to motion it also created its hologram, and in this field must be yet another and another that the self can manage to come out of, and by going deep within itself. This is how it can unify, to bring together, and by dissolving the membranes of separation that formed them.
It can also pass through its fields of light to move into the darker plasmic fields that were mentioned in previously, and all from a cellular level component. Sometimes the creation might be enough to recognize from within its blood, and that rushes to the many cells to activate and reunite.
From extraterrestrial terrain and the star system to create for, given recognition as public figurine, to be so close and yet so far away again.
Why does it chase it away like it was not to trust in its relations with it? Always in such a hurried rush to leave, why not just let it go? It always lets it go enough to soon, and on another timeline it comes back again for the self to feel it needs to keep it, or just simply be annoyed by it being there. 829. I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here. From the capillaries to the heart and lungs and back again. Yes, it is true that the self can work out mostly all of its far distant realities, and from up close, the very intimate too will come to it in dream time. Eventually, the self can become more connected to the dream state, that it can be more conscious. The higher state of consciousness can be when the higher self, including all of its dimensional aspects, to integrate and embody, to descend and expand outward from the physical, that is, the self-embodiment. The purpose is to understand just how important purpose is, and to materialize all that the self wishes from within the universe. Come to it. By traveling down, it transcends upward and outward. By going deep within, its outer world expands. Any part, and by choice to focus on, will come to it. From far and wide to near enough, all can be made possible to recognize and further explore. I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here. Until next time, many blessings.
I am that part of life longing for itself, and the universe wants me to be here